Hello people and welcome to the stream. It's Friday, so we all know what that means. It's Fallout Fridays, which, for anyone that's new, Fallout Fridays is a podcast that we've been doing for, I think this is the 4th episode, which is basically all about talking about everything survival, mainly survival games, also survival stories. We'll play Fallout or a similar game. Today we're actually playing Minecraft. For anyone that's saying that's not survival, it is technically survival. And it's good fun. I do enjoy it. But yeah, it's also talking about anything radioactive, because I think it was last week we talked about the truths and myths of Chernobyl. Was that last week or was that week? I can't. I've lost track. It's been a long week. P.S. Hello, Legend. Are s'mores better than brownies? I think not. I've never had a s'more. I've had a brownie, and I know brownies are really good. But yeah, can't really tell you about s'mores because never had one. Okay, so yeah, I've been making notes like for the majority of the week. Because yeah, today's topic is making the best survival game for 2021, which is basically going to be me throwing all of my favourite survival games together to make one ultimate survival game. S'mores seem to be an American thing. Yeah, they're not as popular over here. I think you can buy them or make them or whatever. But yeah, brownies are more popular over here. Anyway, we know what we have to do to start off Fallout Fridays, and that's with a drink. So yeah, let's get the beer going. So yeah, let me also add in the correct music. The smooth background talk show music. Maybe not that one. That one's probably one of the worst songs. These were the most Fallout-ish music I could find on that I could be allowed to play. But yes, anyways, today's lager is Brewdog Lost Lager. Now, this is a complete new one for me. I've never had this before. But this lager hails from the land of Scotland. Was founded in 2007 in a place called Ellen in Scotland. No idea where that is, apart from in Scotland, obviously. I mean, I have not been to Scotland. I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've been to Scotland. Anyway, bottle cap goes in the collection. And let's try and not screw this this head up. Every time I pour, I end up giving it like a 2-inch head. I think the proper way of pouring it is you're supposed to give it like a 2-centimeter head. I'm already screwing it. It's like half and half. There's half beer or half head. Okay, this one's definitely not as strong smelling as Camden Town's Hell's Lager was last week. Wasn't my favourite one last week, gotta admit. I drunk it. I mean, I wouldn't say I disliked it, but there's beers that I'd pick over it. Also, I went shopping last week, and I've got beers for like the next 4 episodes. Beers are easier to find than topics. Anyway, cheers. Oh, that's got a lot of hops. That almost tastes like an ale. Or a stout. It's very bitter. Again, probably not one that I'd pick. 4.7%, so it's probably one of the weaker ones that I've had as well. But very, very strong tasting. I'd probably actually put that at the bottom of the list of the ones I've tried so far. Because yeah, we started off with Qingdao from China, and then went to Asahi from Japan, Camden Town Hell's Lager from just outside London, England, and yeah, now Lost Lager from Scotland. Definitely I'm gonna be honest, not a big fan. I'll drink it, but definitely not there with my top ones. Hello, Browny. Hello, Browny. I am Browny. You complete idiot. The beer's already gone to my head. Hello, Vaheen, and hello, Blackweb. I'm not chugging it. This is not last call. That's after this. That's where you can tell them to chug the beers. But yeah, a little bit of an insight into future beers. I've got one from Germany and another one from Italy. Can't remember what the third one was. I'll have to check. It might also be Germany, but I'll have to double check that one. But yeah, I'm gonna say that's bottom of the list so far. I do apologise, Brewdog. I'm not giving you much advertisement here, but then again, you didn't sponsor it or anything. So yeah, I was just giving an honest opinion. Anyway, on to today's topic. So, who here enjoys playing survival games? Me. How many have I played? I've lost count. Obviously, Fallout series I've played, apart from 1 and 2. Don't have a go at me for that. Stalker series I've played. I mean, there's like Minecraft. What other? 7 Days to Die. The Metro series. I'm probably missing out an absolute ton here. Creativerse, if you class that one as survival, that's quite a kiddie version of Minecraft. I played a bit of The Mist, which I do want to get back into because they've done a big update to that. But yeah, if you want, guys, rattle off a few of the games that you've played as well. Let me know. This is an open discussion. Also, if you have any ideas whilst I'm throwing and spewing ideas out about today's topic, feel free to just jump in there. So yeah, basically, if you could make your own survival game to be released in 2021, what would it include? What features would you have? What would the setting be? I've actually been thinking about this one for a while. If I could take my favourite survival games and throw all the rest features together, would it make a pretty solid survival game? I mean, if I could make my own games, this is exactly what I'd do. It'll be a big task, because yeah, some of the features that I want to put in are pretty hefty. So yeah, where would be the best place to start? I mean, okay, right. World design. Big topic to start off with. If I could choose my favourite games for the world design, so the environment, the weather, the general lore of the world, I'd go definitely Fallout for its world detail. The only thing that I feel Fallout struggles on is the atmosphere making you feel like it's survival. When you leave your settlements or leave safe zones, you don't feel like around each corner it could be your last minute. You could go around a corner and get killed by a monster, get shot by a raider, and that'll be it. Lights out. A game that I feel does this fantastically is Metro. You go down one of the tunnels in Metro, you can't see a damn thing unless you've been fortunate enough to find night vision goggles. You can get torches, but obviously they only go so far. But yeah, you could just have something leap out of the darkness of the Metro at you, and that's it, you're dead. Also, the way that they do finding of ammo is very, very sparse. Sparse, is that the right word? Limited. Rare to find. So yeah, you want to save your ammo, because also you in Metro, high grade military ammo is also your currency. So you're literally shooting your money. So as soon as you get to the next trading post or outpost or settlement or whatever, you want to be able to save as much of that ammo as you can, so you can buy better equipment, buy lesser grade ammo because you may have a weapon that uses a less grade, not the higher grade. So yeah, if you're just popping off constant rounds at mutants, Third Reich guys, or bandits, then you're just wasting your money, literally. Hello, Ducky. You finally made it to all the streams. And you made it to the most important stream of the week, the podcast stream. So yeah, if I could go for world detail, it would definitely be Fallout for just the lore. The amount of detail they go into their lore, their world building, the whole backstory behind everything. That was definitely a voice break just then. And then Metro for the whole survival feel that everything could kill you. Even going as far as if you go into an irradiated zone, you have to put on a gas mask or it will kill you. And then also, adding on to the feel of the environment, I'd add in the elements from Stalker. Because in Stalker, they explain to you that the zone is a living thing and it is trying to kill you. It does not want you to get into the center of the zone. If you try to get there, it will do everything it can to make you meet your demise. Hydrate. Good shout there, Ducky, because I actually got a bit of a dry throat today. But yeah, also the music in Stalker and also in Metro. It just gives you that feeling of eeriness. It's kind of like a slow, menacing sound to it. So it kind of gives you, it makes you feel on edge without you even realizing it. Also, there's a lot of similarities between the Metro series and the Stalker series in terms of game design, the world in itself, the threats in the world. That's mainly because a lot of the guys that developed Metro were ex-Stalker developers. When Stalker went through its troubled, well, it was always through a troubled phase. I'm trying to remember if it was after the first game or if it was after the last game. A lot of the developers left because GSC had financial issues and stuff like that. So yeah, they left GSC and basically started up 4A Games, which is who made the Metro series. Obviously, I think the Metro series is based on a book, which you come across a absolute load of times in the game. There are so many of them things lying around. But yeah, in Metro you do see the struggle. It has that survival-esque feel because you instantly feel like you need your priorities to survive. You see people dying. You hear them talking about how life is very hard in the Metro. Everybody knows someone who's been on the guard and has been killed by a mutant, or has faced a mutant and come back with some sort of mental trauma. But yeah, for me, in a survival game, I feel like when you leave a safe zone, you should instantly have that feeling of, if I brought everything I need, will I have everything I need to be able to get to another safe zone or get back? And if I go around this corner and do the wrong move, will I be killed? There's so many survival games out there which miss that. Fallout misses that, unless you're playing, like, maybe if you're playing it on the absolute hardest difficulty, or if you've modded it in a way that it makes it more threatening, then yeah, Fallout could work in that kind of way. But also for me, Fallout's too bright, it's too colourful. Like when you play Metro, it's dark, or if you go up to the surface in the first two games, obviously not including Exodus, seeing as that's springish time. It's very bleak. It's snowing all the time. It's very cold. You literally have icicles forming on your gas mask, seeing as if you go to the service in the first two Metro games, you have to wear a gas mask. It is not survivable up there without a gas mask. You can't breathe. It's just too radioactive. But yeah, for me, Fallout misses out on that. there's a lot of games that miss out on that. They want to make it too pretty that it goes against the feeling of the game, or the feeling that they were aiming for. So yeah, that's world building design for me. Then self-management, so your hunger, your thirst, sleep, again, a big thing that a lot of survival games miss out on. Fallout being one of them, unless you play it on, what's the most difficult one called? Survival? No. Yeah, anyway, I think in the most hardest difficulty, it does monitor your it monitors your sleep. So I think if you don't sleep often enough, I might be wrong. This might be when I played it modded. I know if you want to save, you have to sleep, I think. But yeah, so many survival games miss out on hunger, thirst, and sleep, or they just don't do it effectively. If it gives the player the feeling of it being tedious or a background task, like, okay, I just need to drink this water bottle because that bar's low, then it's kind of missed that mark. There should be maybe a bit of a reward scheme for doing it, or punishments for not doing it. So if you get very hungry, you become weaker, because obviously you get fatigued easy, you have no energy, you got no energy source from the food. So you can't carry as much, you can't sprint as much. Water, you get dehydrated, so then again you're not as active as you would normally be if you had kept monitor and track of your health, basically. And that's another thing as well. If you try to heal yourself and you're missing out on, if your hunger and your thirst is very low, you shouldn't be able to heal yourself as much. I can't actually think of a game that does this perfectly. There's lots of games that try to. One that I think does it better is probably 7 Days to Die. If you don't eat enough, you hear yourself. You hear your character's stomach grumbling, and they will start making sound effects. So yeah, their stomach will grumble, and then they'll kind of grunt, like, "Oh my god, I'm hungry." But yeah, so many games, it's just a bar. It's like, you may as well not add it in if it's just going to be a bar. Make it have an effect on the game, not just something that, oh, my hunger's low, grab that apple off the tree, or pop open that can of tin bacon. It does annoy me sometimes how so many games miss out on a very simple, everyday thing. But yeah, I'd also say make it optional, because not everybody wants to have that thing always running in the background. Sleep for me I would probably turn that down or customize the settings so it wasn't as active. That's another thing that I do feel a lot of games do wrong. They make it too active. They make it so you're constantly having to look at your food and water. What's it? I think Stranded Deep was a good one for that. You were constantly thinking, where's my next food source? Rather than everything else about survival. You were too focused on, right, I need to go get another crab or something to cook, or a coconut. To think, okay, I need a shelter. I need to find some way of surviving all this, or finding escape, basically. Finding someone that will get you out. Some way of making it back to... what do they call it? Life, basically. Some way back to everyday life. So yeah, for me, the perfect hunger, self-management, thirst, whatever, would be that it's... If you don't do it, it will affect you, but it's not as active It's not a constant thing. If you eat something, okay, it's gonna do you for like a day or something. Because a lot of games, they have like 30-minute days, and they'll make the hunger sync with those days. So you'll be wanting 3 meals in the space of 30 minutes. So a meal every 10 minutes. I mean, when I play Minecraft and stuff, I could be traveling for an hour. I don't want to be having to have, what's that, 6 meals worth whilst I'm trying to travel, because it's just going to get in the way. It's become more of a hindrance than a survival feel feature. And then, yeah, safety and shelter. Like I said before, if I get into a safe zone, I want to feel like I'm in... Well, I want to feel... I know I'm somewhat safe. I still kind of feel, okay, there's things out there which may attack whatever settlement I'm in. But I kind of want to feel that this is home. Not just like, okay, I'm here, I'll grab some stuff and I'll be off again. You want to feel like that's where you want to be. And then when you go out to get resources or whatever, you kind of want to feel like, right, I'm going to get those resources quick and tactically as I possibly can, so I can get back here so I know I'm safe. Escape from Tarkov does that great. I mean, I hate the game because I'm really bad at it, and I always die and lose everything. But yeah, you know that they added in this, you have like a bunker or something, I can't remember what it's called, and in that bunker you can add in more facilities which you have to get resources to be able to build. So yeah, you go out on the skirmishes or what they're called to get resources, obviously to get like weapons and armor and ammo and whatever else. And then you just really want to go out to get that stuff so you can bring it back and build your base. Because you want to be back in the safe zone. You don't want to be back out there. Yeah, Jesse, I definitely love that. I do need to have more guest speakers. I had Mojo on one of them, but I need to get some more every so often. But yeah, I'll try and think of a topic before like Tuesday or Wednesday, seeing as that's when I came up with this one. I completely forgot what day of the week it was. Time had flown well away from me. But yeah, what was I saying? Safety and shelter. If I could add features into the game, I'd say the settlement building from Fallout, with a little bit more options to where the settlement is. So instead of it being, okay, there's a spot here, a location right here, this specific place, you have to go and relinquish it, and then that's your settlement. I'd rather it was more like in Fallout 76, you have the camp system. So you go wherever you want in the world, as long as it's obviously not in a mission world area. Not in a, what do they call them? Oh, important area, basically. As long as it's not on one of those, you can set up your camp anywhere. Yeah, Fallout 4, it was great for base building. I'd say it was a lot more... It seemed like there's a lot more in Fallout 4's because it's not all behind the damn paywall. You have to buy atoms. To be able to get items, you have to buy atoms. To buy atoms, you use real money. Which I did find a little issue. I mean, you can find atoms and get atoms from doing quests and stuff, but obviously if you want to get them quick, you can just buy them. Because yeah, to get atoms in-game without spending, it takes you a hell of a long time. But yeah, in Fallout 4, especially if you had the DLCs, there is so many options that you had to base building items. And then also there's the whole modding support. You could... people have seen in some of my Fallout YouTube videos, as well as Fallout streams, in my base building mods, there's some pretty hefty ones there, which add in hundreds of items, just because I feel like I needed that extra option. If I wanted prefab stuff, I could just add that in with the mods. But yeah, the settlement system I do enjoy the base building and the settlement building in Fallout 4. But if I did add it as a feature in the game, I'd want it to have more option in terms of where you choose to set your base to be. Also, if you could have it where it works similar to Survive the Nights. For anyone that hasn't since heard of Survive the Nights, it's a zombie apocalypse survival game, purely multiplayer at the minute. I think they are working on single player servers or something like that. But you can basically go into a house and you can make that house your base. So you can board up the windows, you can fix the power, you can make generators so that the house runs on its own. But I'd say I'd also like that feature in the settlement building as well. So you don't have to literally build a settlement from scratch. You can go into an abandoned house, board up the windows, and that's now your initial start of the settlement. You could even go into like a small town or village, and make that your settlement. Just board up the windows for the start, fix up the houses. As you get more resources, and as you get more settlers, you can expand that, and then eventually you have it so it's like The Walking Dead's. What's the place, the name that the governor had? Basically, that's like what you want to aim for. You can build up a settlement in that kind of way, so you're not building it from scratch. You're taking over a town that's just abandoned, everyone's dead or whatever. Boarding up the windows to start off with, and then as it grows, you take down like the boards, fix up the houses, make a perimeter wall. So it's kind of having that best of both worlds. You can do it from scratch, or you can do it from a kickstart, basically. Also, for me, one of the things that so many games where it's you play as like a community, whether it be, plays a community in single player. So State of Decay, Fallout 4. Those are two that I can really think of at the minute. You have that. You have settlers. You have community. You have like a group. And for me, there is not enough relationships in the group to make it feel like there's somebody who's got my back, or there's somebody I know who's friendly. There's somebody that's been living in this settlement a while, and I know them. Especially in Fallout 4, I feel that they missed this mark by a mile. If I go back to a settlement, and let's say I see Bob. Now I know Bob's a farmer. I know Bob's wife died in the attack on Corden or something, or Concord, or whatever it's called. Many years ago, whatever. And now Bob's found this new settler that's coming called Alice, and now they're getting quite well. And you can talk to them, you can ask them how that relationship's going. And then, unfortunately, the settlement gets attacked, Bob dies. And you can talk to Alice about her grieving over Bob. I feel like so many games miss out, so many survival games where it's all about rebuilding and forming this community. So many of them miss out on that human aspect. These characters don't have feelings. They don't have relationships. It's just a set like 10 lines that they repeat over and over again. But yeah, for me, if you lose a settler, you want to feel like you've lost a friend. You want to feel like you've lost a family member. And it could even go as far as like you have weddings within your settlement, and then that couple has kids. It's just adding that more human element to the game, so that you feel like when you go to your settlement, you're not going to just some place that you built. You're going to your home. You're going to your community that you know the people within your community. You have loved ones there. You have a feeling of belonging, and you want to defend that. Because yeah, many games miss out on that. When you go back to a settlement in Fallout, unless it's got like one of your companions in it that you told to go to that settlement, no one actually know. I think a lot of them actually are just called settlers, or their job farmer or whatever. None of them really have that background to them. Even if it was just they found a way of making a auto-generated background. It auto-generates their name, auto-generates their occupation. Or occupation before everything, so that you can give them a job, obviously. You may want them to be a farmer or whatever, because you may not have farmers or whatever. But yeah, just auto-generates them a backstory. Or literally, you just have a load of... you could make it into like a contest on social media whilst you're building the game to generate hype. You just tell people, write a paragraph description of your character, and we'll pick the best 100. Do it a couple of times, you'll have a few hundred. You just put them into the game as like an auto generation option. So, okay, this character is called Bob. Pull that out of the air. Their occupation is occupation for everything. It was gas station clerk. Gets pulled out of this spreadsheet full of options, and then their description is that one pulled out of a spreadsheet just at random. Obviously, I'm sure there'll be a way of coding it so that if the description didn't match what their occupation was, then it wouldn't pick it. You could set it to be, if their occupation's this, then pick one of these options. Because obviously you don't want that, which I think a lot of auto-generated games do sometimes miss out on, is it'll auto-generate something in a way that just doesn't work. I'm trying to think of... I want to say No Man's Sky did that a couple of times. I can't think of an example that comes straight to mind. But yeah, a lot of them do miss out on that settler relationship. And that feeling of belonging to a settlement. And that safety when you go into one. And that you also want to defend it. Because when you leave the settlement, you want to leave it so that you're ready when you go out to defend yourself, but also that settlement is ready to defend itself if it gets attacked while you're not there. So yeah, what we've done so far, 3 different aspects of the game building. So yeah, you're going out, you're getting resources, you're finding loot, you're managing your inventory. One game that I feel does exceptionally well, and I absolutely love it, just for this aspect of the game, of inventory and looting, is Escape from Tarkov. Even though I'm absolutely crap at the game, if I do manage to actually kill someone and loot their body, it's going through each pocket. If you want to get someone off their chest rig, if they're wearing a chest rig, you have to search that chest rig. Okay, now you want someone out of their jacket, you have to search the jacket before it shows whatever's in there. And each thing is literally layered in the way of, here's their chest rig, that's what's in there. Here's the jacket, that's what's in there. It's not just you search the jacket and it shows up in one big box where everything else is. I kind of want that feeling of I'm searching each and every pocket to find exactly what they're holding. Not just I'm searching them all at one time. And here's the big box of items that they're holding in every pocket they have. Because yeah, Escape from Tarkov does that kind of management. Arma does it, I wouldn't say as well as Escape from Tarkov. I feel like Escape from Tarkov definitely does it the best out there. Hydrate! Hydration completed. Thank you, Blackweb. But yeah, in armor you can search their clothing, their chest rig, and their backpack. And they're in 3 different boxes. And then yeah, in Escape from Tarkov, it's literally pretty much every pocket. I think you can search their pants, their jacket, their chest rig, backpack. Feel like they have other pockets and stuff that you can check. And then yeah, it's like searching what weapon they have, if they're wearing a hat or whatever. Also, for me, from Escape from Tarkov, if I could put one of the features into the game, it will be this sheer expanse of weapons and armor that they have. You can add in so many weapons from that. Jeez, I think they're still adding to it as well. Their arsenal range is crazy. And with each weapon, you have an absolute ton of attachments that you can add to it. Or body parts that you can swap out. And also, I'm trying to think, Escape from Tarkov does it, but I'm not entirely sure. I know in DayZ, you can find body parts which need repairing, or they're in very bad condition. That's another thing that I'd add into the game. You may find a weapon, and in so many games it's just like, yeah, this weapon's great. It's been lying around for like 10 years, not doing anything, just gathering dust, but pick it up, it works fine. And you're just kind of looking like, that gun would be rusty as fuck by now. Probably would explode the first time I try and fire it. But yeah, the little bit of DayZ that I have played, because I mainly played the Arma 2 mod. I do play a bit of DayZ mods in Arma 3, but in terms of DayZ standalone, I know in that you can find each part of a weapon, not quite as in much detail as Escape from Tarkov, but you can find various body parts of a weapon to make a weapon, but they have to be in the right condition to be able to put them together and make a weapon. And then yeah, in terms of resource gathering, I mean, part of me would say Minecraft, because you literally have to go out and get each bit, break each part. Maybe for the sheer expanse of it as well, 7 Days to Die. Yeah, it's the same concept as Minecraft really, but I think it's got a bit more detail. And it's also a little bit more up to date in terms of what tools you can use to actually go and resource gather. So yeah, I'd probably actually say 7 Days to Die for its resource gathering. And the way that it's presented. Obviously, when people think Minecraft, it's a blocky world. You're pulling out chunks of it, rather than digging through, like in 7 Days to Die, digging through veins of iron, which are very specific as to where they are. It's not just, here's a cube, and that cube is iron, and then this cube next to it is stone, and that cube on the other side of it is dirt. It's very much, there's this bit of iron in between, in what would look like a very natural rock face. I like Vigor. I haven't heard of Vigor. This may be one that you have to check out. Obviously, if you guys do want to recommend any games, just feel free to do so. I'm gonna have to, is this an Xbox exclusive, or is this on PC as well? I mean, usually, Xbox exclusive also come to PC against Microsoft. It's actually made by Bohemian, which is the same guys that did DayZ. Okay, it's not on PC. So is this like a DayZ for consoles? Although I could have sworn DayZ was on consoles anyway. Yeah, DayZ's on PlayStation, Xbox One, and Windows. That's going to be one I'm going to have to look into. Even though I can't play it, just so I know about it, really. Initial release as an early access title in August 2018. Game fully released on August 19, 2019. So it's been out just over a year. Okay. I probably heard about it when it was initially coming out, and then I've just forgotten about it because, yeah, it's not on PC, so I can't play it, unfortunately. Although it is on the Nintendo Switch, I could get on that. That could be quite funny. But yeah, resources I would add from 7 Days to Die, and inventory management and looting I would add from Escape from Tarkov. And then yeah, crafting. I don't know if you can craft now with the addition of the bunker in Escape from Tarkov, because obviously I don't play that much because I'm crap at it. But for crafting, I'd probably again go with 7 Days to Die, just because it's got I feel it's got more detailed crafting than the likes of Minecraft. What other games do good crafting? I need to get back into some survival games. I do want to play Myst at some point. I was thinking about maybe playing that today, but I haven't got it installed, and I kind of want to test it before I play, because I think it's still in early access. I'm trying to remember if State of Decay does crafting, or if it's just you can modify what you have, what you find. But anyway, yeah, 7 Days to Die. It's detailed that if you want to make... I'm trying to remember some of the examples. Yeah, you need a furnace to be able to obviously initially melt stuff together, and then as you upgrade that, you'll need molds and stuff to make proper metal bars and not ingots. Is it ingots? Yeah, I think it is ingots. And then yeah, you have to get molds for the weapon parts. To be able to make some of the weapons, you have to get certain body parts which will have to be crafted. For me, they had that extra steps for crafting that you felt you were making each part of everything, and when it all comes together, you'll have that. It'll feel like more of a reward when you've built your AK-47, because you've had to make each little part of it, unless you go out and find one, which is also an option. And then yeah, modifying weapons. I would, like I said before, add the range of modifying weapons from Escape from Tarkov. But in terms of visuals of modifying weapons, I would add that in from Metro Exodus. For me, the whole taking off your backpack and you put it on the table, and then you take out your weapon, and you're seeing each sight come off and on. It's not just a case of you hover over an option, it appears. It's more. It's not literally from what I recall, you don't literally take it out of your pocket and slide it on. If there was a game that did that, I'd say that. But it has that just slight animation to it that feels like you've just put that on, rather than it's just appeared. You've hovered over an option and it's appeared. It's right there. But also the way it moves around the weapon when it's depending on what part of the weapon you're modifying. If you're modifying the barrel, or what are they called? Suppressors, compensators, whatever, it will focus on the end of the weapon. If you're adding on a sight, it'll focus on the rail along the top where the sight goes on. If you're modifying the magazine, focus on the magazine. It's not just the full screen's the weapon and you're seeing each bit but no movement whatsoever. It adds that interactive element that it doesn't have to have, but that extra level of detail and that subtle level of detail adds so much more experience to the game. Because yeah, Fallout 4's weapon modding is okay, but it is literally just that you hover over an option, you click it, it appears. There's no movement to the weapon. For me, that was quite boring. There's actually this new game that's in early access on PC called Ground Branch, which I literally played for about half an hour yesterday just to test it out. Now, customizing weapons in that is probably one of the most advanced that I've seen, or not most advanced, it gives you the most options in terms of where you put each item. So, in a lot of games, in a lot of modern shooters or whatever, you can add in a laser sight and it'll just plonk it on the side of the weapon. In Ground Branch, as I'll probably do in a future stream at some point, you can add it onto the side of the weapon. You can choose which side of the weapon it goes on, and you can choose exactly how far along the barrel rail that sight goes on. So if you want to have on the top, you want to have a hollow sight and a flip sight. You can literally choose how far apart they are, how close to you they are. It's just each. I would show you a rail, but I can't show the guns on stream, unfortunately. And I don't think I have a rail that I've taken off on. But yeah, you can place it on exactly which rail you want to. Not just on a side of the weapon. You can choose which indent on the rail you want it to go on. And yeah, for me, that was just like, that is some serious detail and customization options. That has really given the player every option they could possibly have in terms of customizing the weapon. Yeah, the range of add-ons that they have isn't massive. It's not bad. It's definitely got a good range of options. I wouldn't say it's quite as extensive as Escape from Tarkov though. So yeah. Also, Ground Branch doesn't class as a shooter, but anyway, doesn't class as a survival game. It's a shooter. It's kind of like the old school Rainbow Six. So if you think of Vegas and Vegas 2, the terrorist hunts in them is kind of like that, mixed with armor and squad. But yeah, it's in early access. So I played a bit of it yesterday. It's not fantastic in terms of its looks and everything. I didn't play around with the settings, so it might have just been the settings that it was on at the time. But in terms of a detailed shooter, I'd definitely say check it out if you're into shooters. It's more of a mil-sim-ish style shooter. So if you're massive into COD, not into armor, don't know if it'll be the game for you, but check it out anyway. Cause it might appeal to you. But yeah, Ground Branch. It's on Steam. I don't know what other platforms it's on. But yeah, check it out if it interests you. So yeah, next feature that I would add in, obviously, role playing. A lot of games have this in, but a lot of games don't really take it to its extent. Stalker, it had the capabilities, but it never worked on them. Never worked on them to the extent that it could. It had a bit of it. In some of the games, you could kind of choose which faction. Actually, could you do that in some of the games, or is that just the Call of Chernobyl overhaul mod that I played? But yeah, in that mod, you could choose if you wanted to side with a certain faction, and if you sided with that faction, you were enemies with that faction's enemies, and you were allies with that faction's allies. I think you could also, to some extent, have your own enemies as well as the faction's enemies. So if you didn't particularly like one of their allies, I think you could fight them, and it will change your reputation with them rather than your faction's reputation with them. But yeah, in terms of factions and role playing with factions, Stalker did it okay. Fallout does it great. Obviously, you can choose which faction you want to side with in pretty much all the games, I think. New Vegas, if you wanted to go with the Legion, you can do. But again, if you wanted to go with the NCR, I think they're called, you can also go with them. I think most people probably did go with the NCR because they were kind of seen as the good guys. I was, because I'm an absolute lover of the Brotherhood of Steel, I was like mainly NCR and then like Brotherhood of Steel spy in that one in New Vegas. Hello, Jake. How you been? We're just discussing like what the best survival game would be in 2021 if we could throw a load of our favourite ones together. But yeah, and then Fallout 4, obviously you had the option of you could go with the Railroad, you could go with the Institute, you could go with Brotherhood of Steel, Minutemen. I'm probably missing a few there. I think you could join some of the sub factions. So you had Atom Cats, I think they were called. You could kind of side with them with some things. Obviously in Nuka World DLC, you could side with a lot of the Raider gangs in that. In Far Harbor, you had I forgot what they're called, but the main human faction in that. And you also got Children of Atom and Arcadia, I think it's called. You could do a lot of stuff with that faction as well. So again, you had quite a variety of role-playing options in that. But for me, I feel like a lot of them don't really give you a sense of an occupation. In terms of like in the game itself, obviously you have the choice of in Fallout, I'm going to be a hunter. Or I'm going to be a mutant hunter. In Stalker, you could say I'm going to be a mutant hunter. I'm going to sell the parts of mutants that I find on the market, get a load of I forgot what the currency is. The currency is for that game. I think it's starts with R. It's a Russian currency. Is it rubies? No, that's India, I think. I can't remember. Rupees, whatever it is. But yeah, you have that. The game kind of gives you the option, but doesn't work on it. So if you wanted to in Stalker, you could be a mutant hunter or an artifact hunter, and use them to fund your adventures. But there's no dialect for it. You couldn't go up to one of the characters in the Stalker and they'd be like, "What do you do?" And you could say, "Okay, I'm an artifact hunter." And they'll be like, "Oh, okay, so where's the best place to find artifacts?" Or, "Have you found this artifact?" Or, "Can you find me an artifact and I'll pay you?" There's not really any of that specific roleplay. In Stalker, they can give you tasks, but it's like one person will say, "I want you to find this artifact for me." The next person will say, "I want you to find this weapon for me." Or a third person will say, "I want you to go to this location and scout it out for me." There's no... Obviously, you'll have like the main story, and a lot of that'll be built around. The missions will all be built around completing that story, but then I kind of want that option in outside of the game, outside of the main story, or if it's a game like Minecraft or 7 Days to Die, where you have no main story, you just have that main quest of I want to survive. It would be nice to have that option of, okay, I'm going to play this as a hunter, and everyone will talk to me as if I'm a hunter. Rather than everyone will talk to me like I'm just this guy who can do anything for them. There's no sense of speciality, which kind of makes your character, rather than your character just being the character in the game, the main character in the game, the protagonist, who can save everyone and do everything for everyone. I kind of want to feel like each time I play it as well, I can have a different experience. It's not I play it once and I played it. I could play it once and be a hunter. I could play it a different time and be a trader. I could play it a third time and be an adventurer, or maybe like an escort or something. Probably shouldn't say escort if I'm going to get the wrong idea. Could be a guide. That's what the word is. I've lost track of where I was now. And then factions. I've kind of mentioned the factions. For me, Stalker and Fallout being the best ones. But it also adds into the world design as well, because you can have territories. I know in Stalker, a lot of the different areas in the world, because the first Stalker games are all separate world areas, so you'll be in one area, and then to get into the next area you go for a loading screen. So it's not complete fully open world, although they say that Stalker 2, which is currently in the works, is going to be the biggest world that they have made, and it's not going to have this. It's going to be completely open world. There's going to be no loading screens, unless of course you go into a building or whatever it is, like in Fallout. But yeah, they have that sense of territories in Stalker, so you know that if you go there, you're in duty's territory or freedom's territory. And you can expect that if, depending on what diplomacy you have with that faction, you can expect to be shot at or welcome with open arms. So it adds to that role-playing, it adds to that survival feel, because you know, okay, if I'm travelling there, I'm not going to need as much, because I'll be able to trade with some the traders there, get better gear, get more happen? What the hell's happened? Get more ammo and resupply. Or if I'm going to that location where my enemy is, I know I'm going to need a lot of ammo, I'm going to need a lot of first aid kits, better armor, maybe even travel at night so they don't see me. I kind of want a game that makes you feel like you need to double check what you've got, where you're going, when you are going. Obviously, for some people that's probably thinking, okay, that's too detailed. That's making me think too much. That's making me plan too much. It sounds too stressful. For me, it just sounds near enough perfect. I love playing Arma 3 because I love that tactical gameplay where it's, if you plan it out, you will do really well. If you work as a team and listen to everybody and listen to your team leader, you will get through this very smoothly and have the most enjoyable gameplay you can get from Arma 3. Same in Squad. If you muck about, you'll probably get kicked for starters. A lot of Squad servers have a rule of, if you don't work as a team, if you join a team and you don't listen to your team leader and you're literally riding off into the sunset whilst your team's still at base planning their method of attack, they'll kick you, because that's not how you play that game. And that's actually how you ruin the game. Because obviously you're going to constantly get killed, you're going to lower your team's tickets. And you're not working as a team, which is what Squad is all about. Hence the name Squad. Because yeah, I've been a team leader on that game a lot of times. And it infuriates me when you have somebody who's like either not listening, or you'll be literally like, okay, I need you to get in with the team, we're going to take on this thing, and they're just like, no, fuck off, I'm going down here. And I said, well, no, you've joined this team, you need to listen to team leader so that we can get this AO or wherever it is beat, captured, taken. Because as well as just generally following the team leader is a good idea, team leader is the one who can talk to commanders. and then obviously commanders all work together, and had just that general understanding of what the aim is, where each team is, what each team's role is. So you could have literally a team of 4 who are sat way behind the line running artillery, and you're liaising with that team's captain as to where you want the artillery to go, so that you can force the enemy back and take whatever position they're holding. I went off on a bit of a tangent there. But yeah, that level of detail of I want a game to make me feel like I have to really plan. Maybe not really plan. I don't need to literally be having to write down a shit ton of stuff before I've even left the safe zone or whatever. But a game that makes me feel like, have I got the best weapon that I need for what I'm doing? Have I got the best gear that I need for what I'm doing? Am I going to be safe or well equipped if I get into a firefight? If I'm going at night, or am I likely to be back before night? Have I got night vision goggles or a flashlight? And then who am I going against? What are they likely to have? Where am I going? What am I likely to face? That feeling of, if I leave now, will I make it back? Rather than in so many survival games just being like, okay, I'm just going to go out and grab some resources, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'd want that game that makes you feel on edge whenever you leave a safe zone. Which for me, Metro definitely does. Even when you're inside the safe zone, there's a lot of corruption that plays into Metro's backstory. You could go into a settlement, and you know that they're neutral, but they'll have people in there who you don't get along with, and they'll try and capture you, whatever. And then for me, one that's not a biggie, but would be nice, is online capabilities. For me, I'd like a game that has co-op, but not complete open world multiplayer. Fallout 76 is enjoyable, but for me, with all these features as well, it would be limiting of all these features. Obviously, you couldn't have as massive base building because you have to it'll be online. The game developers won't want you to overload the server. And also, a lot of the time, if I want to really immerse into a game, I'll prefer to play single player to multiplayer. Because single player, the things that you're up against are programmed to be characters. They're programmed to act in a certain way that will represent their character. In multiplayer, you go up against anyone. Now, that guy that you're fighting against might be bunny hopping across the ground, and it just breaks that immersion. Compared to playing in single player and you're in a firefight with some scavenger who's running from cover to cover, and you're kind of having this back and forth. What's the word? But yeah, you're having this back and forth thing of, okay, he's running, so I'm going to try and take him down. Or he's running in a blind firing, so I'm going to have to take cover whilst he moves. And then when he gets into cover, I'll just try and get him. I'll see if he peeks. And then, multiplayer is just like some guy's bunny hopping across, firing away like crazy, all the hacking or modding or whatever. So yeah, if I was going to be properly immersed into a game, I'd always go for a single player. Because I kind of feel like I can also, I'm not always worried about there being some bandit style player like you got a lot in DayZ and stuff, who's purely just playing because they want to get a good kill streak or whatever. survival games aren't built for kill streaks. They're built for surviving. Or, for me, whenever I did play Arma 2 DayZ mod, I'd always try and find the servers which were very focused on PvE. Because, if you ask me, if there was some sort of apocalypse, and everybody, and humanity was down to like 5% of its population, I don't think, for the most part, people would turn on other living people, other healthy people. I feel like they would kind of form a community, or at least work together in some way to ensure overall survivability. To me, getting into a firefight with someone would seem reckless. If somebody had been surviving for a couple of years after, I don't know, the zombie breakout, even though they won't last a couple of years in reality, or there'd be some infection which turned people crazy, like in 28 Days Later. If somebody had been surviving for so long with that mentality of a survivor, they wouldn't suddenly be reckless because they saw someone who was healthy and just be like, they've got good gear, I'm going to shoot them because I want their gear. That, for me, in reality, they'd be more like, I kind of want to make contact with them, see if they are friendly, see if we can make some sort of, if they have a community and I have a community, there could be like a trade in between them, or they could even just join to make one big community, kind of keep the humanity going, sort of thing. But yeah, if they added in multiplayer into what would be my perfect survival game, it would be co-op for the main area, the main open world, so that you had this like amazing base that you really wanted to show your friend. They could join your world, and see your base, and see your world as you have built it. With, it could be multiple settlements, or just one major settlement. And maybe you want to go to, there's a factory down the road that you want to take on. You know it's heavily guarded with whoever, and you kind of want that co-op team style tactical firefight mission sort of thing to take down this factory. But yeah, having that option of having co-op so that they're with you, you know they're with you. You're not going to come across some random player who's then going to be like, basically a knob, a bandit. They're going to act all friendly, do the friendly dance, get up to you, pull out a gun, shoot you in the face. And it's just like, what? What happened? For me, I'd say Division does this perfectly. You have co-op in the main world. Obviously, you do come across other players in safe zones, which I kind of like. I don't think it would work. You could possibly make it work in this perfect game. Obviously, in your settlements, it wouldn't work because there'd be, with the option of having it anywhere. You wouldn't be able to have that because obviously they could pop up everywhere. If there's a player who builds one there, and there's a player who in there will build it just down the road from you, and overall they have these safe zones where players can appear. Obviously they're going to appear anywhere. But yeah, in Division, when you get into a safe zone, which are obviously specifically placed, you can't move them. You can come across players who will be trading and whatever. There's not really any interaction between players who don't know each other in the safe zones. You can get to call for helps whilst outside of safe zones. It comes upon the whatever it is, and there's like, an agent is requiring assistance. and you can accept it, and it will take you to whatever mission that they're on, and you can help them complete that mission. Probably won't work in my perfect survival game, because obviously it will be built in a way that it wouldn't make sense for you to do that, because you don't know what they're up against. You don't know if you have the right gear for it or whatever. But then they also have dark zones. So if you wanted to go up against other players, you can go to these selected areas. And also it gives you the reward of better loot, better weaponry. You can find better armor and stuff that you can find. But without it infringing on everyone else's world who doesn't want to do the PvP. So it has both options. You can do co-op with your friends, or even with strangers, or you can do PvP in certain areas, so that anyone that doesn't want to do it doesn't have to get involved. I did do a bit of Dark Zone stuff. I tended not to do it, just because of that whole thing of if you die, you lose whatever you found. And yeah, I don't like doing that against other players. I don't mind it too much if it's against the world, like in DayZ. If I died in DayZ and lost my stuff to the world, AIs, whatever it is, I kind of felt like, okay, I hadn't done my job as a survivor there, rather than I'd come up against another player and, you know, they could be using a thermal scope or whatever, and it's a case of, well, that was just some player who's either hacked his gear or has been here for way much longer and he's just looking for new players to kill, not playing this game in terms of its survival features. And yeah, for me, I think that's everything that I would have in like my perfect game. I mean, in terms of actual setting, I'd have it real world or something modern day. I think Stalker's great for that because it is based around Chernobyl. It adds in that aspect of survival because you feel like this is a real place. This hits closer to home because I know this place is real. There is such a place as Chernobyl. There was such a thing as the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. And then yeah, you got like Fallout. It doesn't give you that survival feel. It's completely fictional world, obviously. Well, not completely fictional. Obviously, it's based in the real world. But many years in the future. So you have like laser weapons and stuff, which for me takes it out of that immersion. I can't quite get as immersed into futuristic games as I could into modern world games with the modern weaponry and stuff like that. I'd also have it set in winter. For me, winter already adds in that feeling of a harsh, cold, hostile environment. Division 1 to Division 2, for me, Division 1 had much more of that. This world is hostile. You have people dying in the streets from the cold. It was snowing all the time. Literally, there was a pretty big thickness of snow on the ground. And yeah, you had blizzards and everything like that. And it just gave you that feeling of the world itself could kill me, never mind the people in it. And then yeah, Metro again. You find people frozen on the ground, frozen stiff, just dead from the cold. And then the radiation stuff. You had to wear a gas mask if you went out. And then when you went up to the surface, and it was blizzards and stuff like that, instantly you just thought, this is a place I don't want to stay in for too long because it's very cold and the cold will kill me. So for me, I would set it in winter. Maybe even give it the option of having seasons if that was possible. So again, it immerses you more. You feel like, okay, it's winter now. If I can survive for long enough to get to spring, I can maybe get some more crops in, get a bit more growing. Build up the community there throughout the spring and summer so it's ready again for the winter. And also, it obviously gives you the option of playing in different styles. So, in winter, it's going to be darker. You'll need more nighttime or low light gear. And then in summer, it's okay. I can take the lighter stuff. It's hot. I'll be able to see for much longer. And also, you can have... Obviously, in summer, the world look much more beautiful. In winter, the world look much more hostile. Although for me, I like... when it's been like snowing and stuff in real world, not talking in-game here, and you look out the window, I feel like that wintry scene can be beautiful. Yeah, there is part of me that prefers winter to summer. But yeah, if they could add in like a seasons, so that you have that playing style that doesn't get boring fast because it's the same thing all the time. It varies. It will change with time to give you more diverse options and keep it constantly changing. I think one of the issues that a lot of open world games have that are just that purely don't have a story that is just survive. They don't have that thing that makes it change every so often. 7 Days to Die kind of does it well because they have the 7th night, which basically it's called 7 Days to Die because on the 7th night, it will unleash an absolute hellstorm of a zombie horde on you, and you have to do your best to survive that. And I feel like that was their way of saying, okay, after that night's finished and you survive that night, it's kind of a reset for you. It doesn't reset whatever you've learned, what skills you've got, what level you are, etc. But it kind of resets your base or wherever you're located, because that zombie horde will tear through it. So that kind of gives you that incentive to be on the move every so often, changing your location, changing the view you're always looking at, changing what's the word? I can't remember. Change of scenery. That was it. So that it doesn't get old, it doesn't get boring, it doesn't get samey. I mean, yeah, in 7 Days to Die, it does eventually get a bit samey. You see the same shops occurring because it's all auto-generated. I think you can have the option to go for some maps which have been somewhat built. I think they're still kind of generated though. But yeah, obviously, in auto-generated worlds, it's auto-generating things that have kind of been pre-built already. So it's just reoccurring. Rehashing it all. I think that's what the initial issue was with No Man's Sky. A lot of the planets felt like the same planet. You build up your ship, you'd get the resources to build a hyperdrive, what it was called. A hyperdrive to another solar system, and the planet would look the exact same. Or it would just be very, very empty. That's what I had a real issue with when I first started playing it. I got very bored very quickly because it just felt like there was nothing there. It kind of felt like I was very alone. Not even animals or anything. Literally, there'd be a few trees popping up or some weird fauna popping up. Is it fauna that's plants or is that flora? I can't remember. But yeah, it would feel very empty. I mean, yeah, they kind of made the system that auto-generated 18 quintillion planets, so they said, okay, you're not going to come across that many players that often. But obviously there was AI and stuff. There was alien races, humanoid races, intelligent alien life. There was also alien animals, flowers, plants, trees. Eventually added in water and then underwater, and I think they've even added in underwater life as well. But yeah, in terms of where No Man's Sky was when it was released and where it is now, especially now that they've also got announced Origins, I think it's called, which is the latest expansion. It is a massive, massive difference. I do need to pick it up again to give it another go. They've added in so much different stuff. Base building was, I think, one of the first major add-ons since it was released. And then you had ground vehicles. You had like buggies and stuff. I think they've also now added in water vehicles. I don't know if they've released all the information about what Origins is. I think they were keeping it a bit of a secret just yet. I completely lost what I've even been talking about. But yeah, I think I've gone through pretty much everything that I would do in terms of the features in my game and where I pull them from. Yeah, we're talking about world design, we talked about self-management, safety and shelter, inventory and looting, role-playing, factions, and then online capabilities. Another one is leveling. Finding, like in Division, and they gave you the option for it in Breakpoint, because they kind of wanted players to be able to do Wildlands style gameplay or Division style gameplay, which I thought was a brilliant idea. Kind of opening it up to these two different, they are two different, very different style of games. And then kind of open it up to both of those communities so that it kind of brings those two communities together to see how they work together. But yeah, it gave you that option of, if you find a weapon, it'll have, let's say you find an M4 and it's level 10. But it also gave you the option of, okay, you find an M4 and that's the M4. In terms of in this perfect game, I wouldn't have the level. I would have the condition of the weapon, so it may be damaged, it may need fixing up. But I wouldn't say, okay, this weapon is level 10. And now that level 10 M4 is better than that level 1 M4. Even though they're both M4s, they work the exact same way. It's just that one does 100 damage and that one does 10 damage because that's a higher level. Weapons don't work like that unless they were crafted better. But that would only really say how if it was. I mean, that would work more into its condition rather than its level. So you may be poor at crafting, make a poorly conditioned M4 that fails a lot, jams a lot, and then someone may be really good at crafting, make a very good M4, and be able to kill you with it that way. That would add more into the survival aspect rather than they found a level 10 and you found a level 1. Which just doesn't make sense in terms of that immersive survival feel. So yeah, leveling in terms of weapons and gear, I would say don't bother with. Just add in conditioning of the weapon and the gear. Because yeah, it's more immersive to think, okay, my weapon wasn't fantastic. His must have been a lot better. And that's why he won that one. Or maybe the armor I'm wearing has already been shot at 10 times. And it's partly broken. And theirs hasn't been hit once. They've just fixed it up. It's in pristine condition. So they're more likely to take a few rounds before their armor gets damaged or whatever. Yeah, I think I pretty much covered all the main aspects without having to go into literally every intense detail. Which would just go too far. If anyone is a game developer here and is thinking, Browny, you got some good ideas here, feel free to hit me up on Discord. I'll happily have my name in the credits. But yeah, I think I've pretty much said everything now. If anyone wants to throw in any ideas that they have, or any games that they've played that they really like, or ones that they know about coming up that want me to check out, feel free to do so. There is a few that I'd like to play. Some that I'd prefer were single player rather than multiplayer for reasons I've mentioned. beer's getting worse. There's a game called Scum, which reminds me a lot of Daisy. It's purely online. I'm pretty sure it's purely online. I would love to try it, but again, from playing games like Rust, a bit of Ark and Daisy, I just know that that a lot of those people in that community are just gonna be the ones that are bandits, just going out for a kill rather than for survival. They have no aim of progressing. They just want to find a gun so that they can shoot someone. And that's what really puts me off those kind of games. That is why I do prefer the single player games. But yeah, I think it's about time that we played some Minecraft.